simplifying your plan and your schedule of homeschooling with real life can be a challenge. When we think of simplifying our homeschool, a lot of times we think of all the books that we have. What can we get rid of? How can we declutter? How can we maybe even minimalize what we have? That would simplify our life, right? We also may think of our planning and our scheduling. Finding the best plan and the best schedule would simplify our life, I would think. But I want to give you some other things to think about when you are thinking about simplifying your homeschooling, especially when it is relating to everything else that is going on. Because as homeschool mamas, we are balancing a lot of different things. It's not just the schoolwork, it's home life. It could possibly be something outside the home. It could be special needs with your child. It could be appointments. There's a lot that a mom does, and putting homeschool on top of that makes it all the more interesting. Hi, welcome to my channel, Learning with Boys. If you are new here, I do have 4 boys, and I have graduated 2. And this coming fall, I will have an 11th grader and a 6th grader. We are finishing up our 15th year. I have homeschooled all stages, and I just want to share a couple thoughts on ways that just can simplify your day, and it might be just some personal changes. As homeschool mamas, we have a lot on our plate. We wake up in the morning, and if you're like me, your mind is just full of lists. Or I try to write as much down as possible. And a lot of times I've come to the realization that not everything on my list is going to be done today. And I have to accept that. It's really coming down to the point of having realistic expectations. So just dealing with your own self before you come out and deal with your children in that realm. Now, I do want to stop and say right here, as a Christian mom, it is so important and to help me through the day to be in God's Word and in prayer with Him. Now, if I miss that or try to come back to it, I can tell. So I do want to mention that. Like, that is the first thing. Now, my mind will start with lists, and I ask the Lord to help me be calm and focus on what He wants me to get from Him that day. And some days I will have a little extra time, and some days it will just be enough to read what I actually have scheduled instead of veering off onto something else in His Word and just having a prayer list written out. Then my mind won't wander so much, because I do have specific things that are on my heart and I want to write them down, especially needs for my immediate family. I don't want to forget about that throughout the day. So back to the realistic expectations. It is going to take a lot of the dreaded word, patience, because I naturally have high expectations, but I feel like the Lord has helped me with that through the years. I really have come to the point of just taking moment by moment, day by day, and just learning that it's okay if it happens next month. Maybe it will happen this weekend. Maybe it will happen next time everybody has off. I'm in a little bit of a different season, and sometimes I would love to have everybody together, because my boys, I have 2 adult sons now, and my boys at home, and one of them started working, and my husband. So I'm going to have to be patient for that time and just try to plan and work things out. So that helps when you, and then I really have to pray about it. So, but when they're younger, I know there's times where you might be planning something and then people just start getting sick, and that makes it really hard. But the Lord has a purpose and a plan why what you highly expected to happen may not be happening now. And just to love on your kids, enjoy them in that moment. They need you. And I think that is the whole idea of simplifying, is just sitting back, taking the time with your family, with your children, and knowing that God has given you this great responsibility and is to love and to cherish them. Now, I'm going to bring that into the realm of when you are schooling them, because that is a time when they can really test that patience. And one thing that I did when my boys were younger, and just because of that high expectation, I expected this done, and I expected this done, and I expected this done. And we do need to let them know what is expected of them. But every child is going to be different. And, we might have 20 math problems. And depending on the day and the time and their emotions, and depending on what everybody else is doing, you may have to, one thing that was mentioned to me, and this is just an example for math, is that to take their age, so say they're 8, and multiply it by 2, so 15, 16 minutes of math. And really, a lot can be done in that little bit of time, and you may be able to stretch it to 20 minutes. But to spend 45 minutes on math for an 8-year-old is really stretching them, and it could cause an emotional breakdown. So that is what I mean with being patient and not having the highest expectations, but also there's that balance of they need to do what is expected. Let's be realistic with our expectations for them, and that really would help simplify things a little bit. That way not everybody is stressed out. We've got 15 minutes, 20 minutes of math. You may have to go and let's circle the odd problems or the even problems. I use Math-U-See, and there's not a lot on there. And I have had boys that could do the whole paper, and I've had some that I needed to circle what problems I knew they needed help and practice and work on, and maybe 1 or 2 of the ones I knew they understood. And for my youngest right now, I know it has to be done in the morning first thing. We have tried, even at this age, I feel like something just is not clicking, especially after lunch. So it really has to be done early on for him. And that's just something you're going to have to figure out. But all that takes the patience of let's figure this out. And especially if you have several children, it's going to take time, but you deal with the oldest, the second, and just work your way through. Now, I do want to encourage you, if you do have a lot of children, that it would help immensely to start off with the youngest. Make sure they've got their work done and they can move on. And you're going to have to schedule that however that works with you, because it'll be hard to come back and deal with them, and they do work better first thing in the morning. So you may be able to give your 10-year-old the math work to start on, and the high schooler can start working on something. Or maybe you can give the older ones some chores to work on while you spend 30 minutes to an hour with your kindergartner. However that may look for you and your family. Okay, the next thing I really want to talk about is curriculum. And I'm not going to specifically say use less or use more. That's not really going to simplify things. It could to a point, but I want you to take into consideration your time, the age of your children, your expectations from them, your realistic expectations for yourself. So as you're looking at curriculum for your children, maybe you have something you've been using and it's working. I really want to encourage you just to keep using it. I know it's hard because I've been there, and you start looking around just to see what else is out there, in the temptation to try something new. But especially if it's like a history or science, especially math, and they're working, stick with them, because usually those are in an order of cycle anyways, so that makes it helpful. Now, you may just be using like unit studies for history, and you have one that's getting older. They want to pick a different curriculum, or they have more of a books for themselves. We enjoy living books. That is how my boys have learned. I know some people love the textbook forms and love checking off the boxes. So you really just have to decide on how your child learns best when you're doing that. But if you're just using a curriculum together and it's working, I say continue. But if you're having trouble, go ahead and do your research. But start with the basics, reading, writing, arithmetic. And I heard someone recently say, so I'm adding it in there, is to keep your relationship. And when you keep the relationship, it does simplify things. Being realistic in your expectations will help keep that relationship. Once you have the curriculum down and you want to add, as they get older, you want to add in science and history, But you're also looking at all these other add-ins. There's like 5 electives that you're thinking about, art and music, signed them up for some co-op classes. So it might start to become so much that you cannot keep up, and it is definitely not simplified. That's why I really suggest just starting out with the basics, especially if you are coming out of a year that just seemed a little too much, overwhelming. Things just didn't come together as they should. Maybe it wasn't so much that basic curriculum you were using, but maybe it was all those things you were adding in, and it could be outside activities too. Your family may just need a rest from all the extras and just some time together working on projects and activities that might be fun that correlate with your history or your science. Now, of course, this all depends on your age. I am thinking more like, 12 and under here. I have a high schooler and one going into middle school. It is a little different for us right now, but the Lord has led us to a curriculum that has been working for us. And I will link what we're using down below in those videos. But as they get older and this curriculum helps them go in to be more independent, and this is what my other boys used, it really did help once they get older to help and guide them into independence. Now, I know some families still do the combination of things, but they can be independent on their other subjects. Or I know it's hard, but when they get older, they really start wanting to research out their own interest. So it might be a time for them to break off, but that's, your decision. They may still want to be part of the history and the science and the family time that you have all together. Now, I do want to say, I still, even though we broke off to our different curriculums, we always did do at least a read aloud and some Bible together. So it's not like we were not together. And we didn't do a lot of outside activities. So a lot of things was together time. My boys enjoyed a lot of different activities with Daddy, mountain biking and just building things, remodeling some things around the house. There was always something going on. So I do know that each family is going to be different in those areas. All right. I just wanted to share some thoughts with you because I know as a homeschool mom, we want to simplify, and we think if we clean out everything and we get our planners written out, detailed, and this will simplify our life. But we really are dealing with other human beings. It's not just our thought process and how we have it all planned out. We have to get everyone else to cooperate, and sometimes that is letting go of some expectations that we may have had and just being realistic on where this child is or children. Especially if you have toddlers or a newborn, you may have to come up with a different plan, and it may just be for that school year. When I had my last one, I had to use a couple online videos for history and science for my oldest, and that was fine. But it actually worked out great. I hope this was encouraging, and I'm excited about this next school year. I'm going to be sharing more of how we are planning and we use Heart of Dakota, how I'll be putting that together for my 6th grader. And we're using some Heart of Dakota for my 11th grader, but he'll also be doing some dual credits. So it'll be a different year for us, but I am excited and I will be sharing all that with you. So if you like homeschool content, please subscribe. And if this video was helpful in any way, please give it a thumbs up. That would not only encourage me, but it would help my channel. So thank you very much. And I hope you all have a wonderful week, and we will talk to you again soon.